long time ago, it was said that comic book movies is just a fad. That it can only be one, maybe two coming out per year. And the most popular ones are always going to get the big billing. You're always going to get a Batman. You probably get a sprinkle of a Superman. You'll probably get a Spider-Man down the road. But you pretty much will not get it in abundance, and you pretty much will not see it every single year. Every other year, if you're lucky. You'll be lucky if you will see a TV series based on a comic book. And if it is, it's very rare, and it probably won't last no more than probably one or maybe two seasons. Case in point, The Flash. And I'm not talking about the one that is on CW. I'm talking about the one that came out, I believe, on NBC. It lasted a full season. Very underrated show, by the way. You had some goofiness about it. The studios didn't take it seriously. They put out some stuff that came out, probably lasted a few seasons, but was never really close to the adaptations that it was supposed to be. That was based on the comic book that was originally scripted. What I mean by that is that you see the hero, you know what it is, but it's nowhere near what you actually expected. The effects wasn't there, but most importantly, the effort of taking comic books seriously as an important meme was just not there. A prime example is how Warner Brothers have treated the Superman series with Christopher Reeves. I say that because the first film was a masterpiece. One of the best superhero films, if not the top 5 best super films of all time. Richard Donner had struck gold and actually was trying to do 2 films at once, but a threat of being fired, a threat of a direction that Warner Brothers did not want to take, had led him to pretty much just focus on the first film. And by the time he got back to the second film, they replaced him with Richard Lester. God may rest in peace. And you can tell the direction they wanted to go. They wanted comedy. They wanted more of a family slapstick vibe to it. And although it didn't fully transition in part 2, you can definitely tell in part 3, and it was an absolute disaster, and they never recovered from it. They truly never recovered from that. Superman have really never recovered from it fully. We had 2 movies, yes. We had a underrated Superman Returns, and we had a film that I thought was more a pleasant surprise to me, was Man of Steel. But even with that being said, Batman suffered the same turn. Then comes the late 90s, and you had Spider-Man, and you had Blade, and you had Hawk, and even though these films were starting to make headway, it was still the same old, same old. This is just a meme. You're not going to see too many of these films come out. Once the dust is cleared, people will grow tired of it, and it will just pretty much quietly go down the sunset. But then The Dark Knight happened. Then the announcement that Disney and Marvel was pretty much together. And then the cinematic universe happened, starting with Iron Man. It didn't trickle down to Thor. It did trickle down to Captain America. And then you had the Avengers. You had other films like Green Lantern coming out. And even films that were surprise experiments, like The Green Hornet. You fast forwarded, and the same people that I have been hearing this for years, still saying that people are eventually going to grow tired of these comic book movies, and it's going to go quietly into the sunset. But then you have Doctor Strange. Then you have the Justice League. You have Aquaman. You have Shazam. You have Ant-Man. You have Captain Marvel. You have the Avengers trilogies. You have the final Avenger film, in my opinion, Endgame. You have Black Panther. And you have films coming down the road. Gentlemen, ladies, children of all ages, I think it's safe to say now, more than ever, that the genre of comic book films, or comic book cinema as I like to call it, isn't going anywhere. It's here to stay. It is now a big, big part of the film genre. And I couldn't be more happier. And I say cinema for a reason because I really do believe we owe a lot to the films that came before it. And I owe a lot to some of the unsung heroes of what was going on here. The strange coincidences that allow us to see these films in its entirety. Because here's the thing. Have Hollywood would have stayed on the path of this, bringing out the big three, Spider-Man, Superman, and Batman, and not really focus on other characters like Thor, like Ant-Man, like Captain Marvel, like Black Panther, and so on and so on, we may not have this universe. We may not have this abundance of films and television shows. It probably would have been grounded on just one, maybe two heroes. Every now and then another hero will pop up every so often. We may have not had this enjoyment of seeing these films. And yes, some are better than others. Yes, there has been some duds. But overall, if you look at it combined with Marvel and DC, I think it has been a great 10 to 20 year run where we had some good quality, solid comic films. Even the bad ones, we owe a lot of credence to. Because we've seen the failed experiments, and we see what mistakes that has happened, and we understand what they had to do to learn not to make the same mistakes. And like I said, this genre is not going away. All the people saying that this is just a fad, and people's going to go tired, if that was the case, these films would be making gangbusters as they are now. They should have faded away years ago. And so I can safely say now, in the year 2019, going into 2020, that the genre of comic book cinema is now a permanent mark in Hollywood. It is on the same ranks of action horror, same ranks as comedy. And I think it's taken that top free spot of the most go-to genre when it comes to movie entertainment. And this is just the beginning. Right now, we see DC, we see Marvel, but who knows if the independent comic books may actually get in on the action. It's hard, I'm not gonna lie. Alright, we have Dark Horse, we have Images. But if they play their cards right, and if they actually get a good backer, which I think is very important, they can pull something out where we can see other materials that was not new to us, that people rarely heard about, that diehard fans have heard about, and can actually pass it on to people who are not diehard fans. It's a possibility, and I welcome that possibility. And I'm hopeful for the future. I'm more hopeful for the comic movies coming out now than more than any era that I have watched these movies. Pattinson's the new Batman. I'm looking forward to see what he has to do. I think he's a good actor when given the right role. I think this will be a challenge that I think he's longed for. He wanted to take himself seriously more so when after the Twilight era. He has some few miscues, but you can tell that he's hungry. You can tell that he is looking forward to something new and freshing. And I'm saying, good luck. Don't know who's going to play Superman yet, but, you know, that's down the road. And I think DC has done a very good job. Marvel, you already know what their plans are. They already laid the groundwork. Yes, it could change. Some for the better, some for the worse, but it can change. And it's just be expected. But the most important part about it is that whether you're a DC fan or a Marvel fan or a bit of both, you got a lot to look forward to in the next 4 years. Because like I said, this genre is not going anywhere. And it is those who have been going to these theaters, watching these films, passing on the word of mouth, that actually kept this genre alive. And I got another thing to say. Whether they will admit it or not, DC and even Marvel, especially Marvel, owes you a great bit of gratitude because Marvel was on his way out. As you all know, it was no big secret why they sold off a lot of their properties. They were pretty much on the edge of pretty much total closure. And God knows what would happen to all our favorite characters. And it's sad that they end up having to sell out some of their characters to other studios. But at the same time, it was also a blessing. Because it forced them to be creative. It forced them to try take avenues that they probably never would have tried had they not had the bare minimum. And they did have the bare minimum when it comes to their comic characters. Yet at the same time, they owe you good gratitude because it was the fans who supported these films and got them out of the brink. Now you don't. Now to hear that Marvel is going bankrupt is an afterthought now. It's like, really? All that money they rinking in, they gonna go out of business anytime soon? I don't think so. And it was because of that it made DC be aware that hey, they need to step up themselves as well. They need to step up their game. They can't just rely on Superman, Batman. They got to put some other characters out there. Even though I still feel they haven't totally abandoned the Batman lore, because again, if you look at their list, Bird of Prey, that's part of the Batman universe, part of the Bat family, if you like to call it that. Suicide Squad is sharing that Batman family situation. Of course, you have the Batman. But at least they're putting the Aquamans, the Wonder Womans, the Shazams. We're also going to have other characters that they're going to be pushing, and that's good. You also have DC. You also have the DC universe that they're streaming service, so they got a lot of stuff to work on, and that's good. But imagine if they didn't really have much of competition. Keep in mind, in the 80s, DC was king of cinema. And the reason why Marvel wasn't really doing anything with their characters. They were pretty much dead in the water. DC was the movie to go to. The problem was it really only was focusing on just a few characters. That of course have changed with the cinematic universe to have. And yes, DC have failed in terms of putting their extended universe. There's no question about that. They started too soon, they rushed it, and it fell flat on their face. However, there were other stuff I feel they have succeeded in. Let's break it down here. Marvel is king right now of the cinema. There's no question about it. There's no use to try and debate otherwise. Marvel owns the cinema, plain and simple. However, they do not own television. DC has been dominant on television with good quality shows. Shows I never thought would actually be a hit is still around and has garnered a huge fan base. I'm looking at Supergirl, and I'm also looking at Krypton, which is on Sci-Fi. They just finished a 5-year run with Gotham. They have Arrow still going strong. Flash still going strong. So what they lacked in the big screen, they pretty much made up big time on television and streaming. And that's something you just cannot ignore. And I'm going to be here also honest with this is my opinion. You can disagree with me if you wish. I have no problem with that. But can you honestly tell me that they had a bad animated department? Because they don't. And many times, I think the animation films are way better than the Marvel films that's in the animated department. So DC has a lot to be proud of when it comes to their properties and other venues. I think you cannot deny that. Television has been Disney. I know Marvel has some shows that they came out with. Of course, Shield is ending this season, and you had the Netflix situation with the Defenders, and you also had the Daredevils, Jessica Jones, but they don't garner nearly a success as DC has with their shows. In fact, most of the people said that some of the shows that came out on Netflix was pretty disappointing. Iron Fist being one of them. So again, I think that DC has a lot to be proud of. And they got a whole lot of properties. And now that they're focusing on standalone shows, this is a good thing. I think they're going to get better at the movie department. But it all depends on how much they're going to give us, not just the characters we know, but the characters we don't pretty much follow too much. We probably heard of them. I know they got their own fan base, but we not just see them come out and explore that. They already got The Watchmen coming on HBO, which is something I'm looking forward to. For what I understand, it takes place after the events of the movie. So it's pretty much a sequel to the movie. I'm looking forward to seeing what they have to do. I like the cast. I like the feel what's going. And I think they're going to do surprise a lot of people with this one. So it's interesting to see what they're going to do with that. They got a lot of stuff going for them. And Marvel. I'll tell you right now, for those who are fans of this genre, you got a lot to look forward to. Both on screen and on the television. And on your streaming service. I don't think you're going to be disappointed for the next few years. What you see. And I think it's only going to continue to grow better and better. As long as they continue to write stories that people are invested in, they're going to continue to grow. And right now, when you're seeing films like Black Panther getting recognized for an award, that only going to further note how far these movies, these properties have come from. For one, I'm very happy, and I can't wait to see what they do next. Now, there are some drawbacks. There are characters that may never recover or never become part of mainstream. And this mostly has to do with the fact that you have a genre that has been dying and is barely hanging on by thread. And that's the comic strip. Not the comic books, the comic strips. People don't read the papers as much anymore. And these stories are becoming a dying entity. For lots of reasons. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I do not see these becoming mainstream movies anymore. And if it is, it's going to be a very rare occasion. I'll give you a perfect example. The rare occasion is the Peanuts. The Peanuts is a comic strip. But the one thing they did right is they kept focus on the actual characters, Charlie Brown and his friends. And the one thing that really worked in their favor, even though it's like seeing a time capsule, it still has the strong, and I'm going to make this very clear, strong test of time for any kid or any adult who's watching this. It doesn't age. If you do Peanuts right, which they did with the animated series, with the movie that came out a few years ago, it will show, and people will love it. They did the right thing. It felt genuine. It felt great, and people were looking forward to it. And it did very, very well. They stuck with the addition of hiring child actors and actresses, and they did their job perfectly. I couldn't ask for a better film than what we got. And then there's Annie. Now, I have actually read a good portion of Annie comic strips, and they're great reads. It is dark as hell, but that's the reason why it will never ever gain the mainstream as a movie. Because what we got, honestly, is not the Annie of Harold Gray's work, but an Annie from the Broadway show. She's not singing a hard line life. You can't be when you're getting shot up by monsters. And another thing you won't see is the fact is, and this is why it's not going to withstand the test of time here, is because you see Annie get beat up a lot. A lot. I don't think people will be too comfortable seeing a kid getting smacked around by a grown man. It's just not going to happen. And then there's Dick Tracy. Do I need to tell you how outdated that comic book is? Yeah, he's still around in the comic strip. He has his diehard fans. There is no question about it. But can you see that film surviving now in this day and age? No. He's dated. Unless they're gonna upgrade him to this era, he's dated. There's a reason why there was only one Dick Tracy movie. It wasn't a bad movie. It wasn't great, but it wasn't a bad movie. There's a whole lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff going on. And that's the only genre I feel that's going to be hurt, because a lot of the films, most of them was anime, and they was just bad. Very, very bad. But other than that, I do think there's room for characters that can make a comeback. Characters that I'm actually looking forward to see. Darkman is one of them. I would love to see a reimagining of Darkman. I saw all 3 Darkman movies. One came out in theaters, was starring Liam Neeson, was very good. The other 2 films were direct to DVDs, which was surprisingly even good. I was surprised it was in direct to DVD. I am actually hoping that we get a Question movie. Plastic Man was talking about a while. I wouldn't mind for that for the kids. I wouldn't mind at all. But the one film I'm actually looking forward, and I'm hoping that DC will consider making, Static Shock. And I'm not talking about the one that was on television. Nothing wrong with the WB version. I'm talking about the one that's actually gritty in the comic books. I will love nothing more to see Static Shock come to life. Then again, that's down the road. They may or may not happen. But like I said, it's so much possibilities now with the way this genre has become. I really can't wait. And to be honest with you, the comic industry needs it. They are in terms of their book sales concerned, they're in serious trouble. And right now, this has pretty much been keeping them afloat. So they're embracing this new genre, this new wave of interest is only works for them, and it only can make them better. Now, before I close out this podcast, there is one thing I want to talk about. There's one thing I have to address. And this is really just not anything that was bad or anything, but it is an issue that is a possibility, because it is a possibility. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they like Tom Holland as Spider-Man, but there was a question John Copper mentioned: should they replace Spider-Man? Now, the reason why this caught my attention a little bit is because, number one, I did a review. I posted it up last week. It's out now. You can check it out either about Expression via YouTube. And I talked about Venom. Felt it was alright. It wasn't terrible. It had some problems that scratched my head, but it wasn't terrible. But I was concerned about where they was going, where Sony was going to go with this universe, with the Spider-Verse they're trying to build. And can this Spideyverse that they want to build so much, can it actually work with the Spider-Man character that was pretty much created for the MCU? And I don't see the fit. Not unless they change it around. Now, they could change it around. They could definitely say, okay, well, we got the Spider-Man here. Let's work around this character because this character is already well established. It doesn't make sense to try and reboot the character. So let's just work around what we see here. It could happen. However, it wouldn't be a surprise if they said, you know what, he just doesn't fit. Let's recast this character. Now, I don't think that's going to happen, especially when you have a star who is ready, willing, and able to work with Sony, and actually can't wait to work with Sony to make a standalone Spider-Man film. That's always that alone is a positive. Another thing I don't think is going to happen is because, number one, it will be peer relation suicide, because that will tell a lot of the fans of Spidey that you're rebooting it yet again. And I don't think people are going to be very happy of seeing this be rebooted for a third time. It's just ridiculous. There is no reason for you to reboot this film a third time. So I don't see that happening. I don't see that being a major issue. I don't think Sony is going to make that mistake. I think Sony, if they're at best, will pretty much make it possible so that when the time comes, they will work around what Tom Holland have done and basically fit this fit the character to meet with Tom Hardy's Spider-Man. They have to. They can't do what DC did with Batman, where they had two films that was made by Tim Burton. It was established, the world was established by Tim Burton, the dark, gritty world, and then turn around, have Sean Schumacher have his take on a 1960s Batman show that was outdated years ago, with eye candy and campy dialogue and puns that just was more cringeworthy than funny. They have to be careful while they do it. Unless I got faith, I got that they're gonna do the right thing. I think they have to. I think the time is right for them to get a right Spider-Man. But like I said, they will be the victim of their own ego. Will they let their writing team do their job? Or are they going to keep interfering and give us a Spider-Man that no one wanted? Remember, the biggest downfall is by cramming too many stuff in at one time and bringing dialogue that just basically just says, ugh. And he did it with Spider-Man twice. For no reason. They don't need to rush this film. They don't need to rush Spider-Man that much. I don't think they're going to, because there's nothing is on the 2020 list that says Spider-Man. That's good. But I think they need to be careful. I think Tom Hardy, they got him for 2 more films. Use him. Work with him. Write your script around him and the character that he already built. I'm not saying that you need to combine Venom too much, but work with him. I think it'd be a great move if they do, not the opposite. But what do you guys think? I'd like to hear your opinion. I hope you enjoyed this rendition of Comic Talk 360. And until next time, this is J77 saying take care, be safe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.